presented by Jeep. You are in luck, streaming people, because it is the long-awaited JD Show reunion.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Don't worry, yeah.
Lucky you.
I'm Jacqueline D'Agostino. We have a packed show heading your way. Of course, we have the NBA playoffs, the NFL schedule release that is dropping tonight. We're going to talk about that later in the show. But first, we have to head to Louisville because it is golf's second major of the season on tap, Jenny.
156 of the world's best players are in the field for the PGA Championship, including 15-time major winner Tiger Woods and world number one and new dad, Scotty Scheffler.
Congratulations, Scheffler.
So exciting. The Jack Nicklaus design course opened in 1986 and will play just over 7,600 yards for this week's tournament on CBS. Endless storylines coming out of Louisville. Brooks Koepka enters as a defending champ. He beat Victor Hovland and Scheffler by 2 strokes at Oak Hill last year. Rory McIlroy, he's looking to end his decade-long major drought. And the last major he won was the PGA Championship at this very course in 2014. And we have you covered. Let's send it out to Joe Musso, who is anchoring our coverage from Louisville for a PGA Championship preview.
Thank you, Jenny. Our coverage of the PGA Championship is presented by Jeep. There's only one. Joe Musso alongside my number ones, Kyle Porter, Rick Gaiman. Gentlemen, it is always a pleasure to be by your side, especially in a major championship week. As was laid out there at the outset, so much to get into, storylines buzzing all over the place. But let's start with the storyline that has really rolled out over these last couple weeks, that being Rory McIlroy. The parallels already made, a decade removed from his last major, came at this very place. Back-to-back wins coming into it. Some personal news underlining it all as well. KP, is there any indication that this is the week that Rory can finally put together 4 rounds at a major?
Yeah, there is, but there has been a lot of times over the last couple of years, right? I mean, we've seen him at so many different major venues over the last 2 or 3 years have a lot of success. I mean, you look at 7 of his last 9 major championships, he's finished in the top 10, Rick. That's a really impressive kind of run over the last 2 years of play for him at major championships. But I think this golf course in particular, coming off of Quail Hollow, where he drove the ball, honestly, I think as well as he's ever driven it, this golf course sets up so well for him. Rick, you were walking around earlier this week looking at kind of the way the moisture has affected the course. It's playing like a massive ballpark, even bigger than it was in 2014 when he went on to win what was his 4th and up to this point last major championship. I think that plays right into his hands among a handful of other guys in this field.
It's a huge golf course. They're almost running out of land. I kid, but I mean the first tee box is literally like on the driving range now, and there's just so many holes that are going to ask you to hit driver and then mid-iron or long iron, and it's really a test of execution, which is good news. That's good news for Rory McIlroy, right? There's no quirks, there's no tricks. This golf course is right out in front of him. He's probably not going to get unlucky. It's probably just going to be the guy who executes those shots the best who's going to win this golf tournament. And it feels we're a long way removed, Joe, from a very slow start to 2024. Rory McIlroy captures the victory alongside Shane Lowry at the Zurich, and then of course just running over Xander on Sunday at the Wells Fargo Championship. It feels like a different Rory McIlroy right now.
Hot putter Saturday, Sunday at the Wells Fargo bodes well heading into this week. And KP, you said it, he's been peppering the board. Nobody with more top 10s at majors in the last decade since that 2014 win than Rory McIlroy. 20 top 10s, just unable to get his hands on a trophy. Perhaps it's another Wanamaker, but there is no disguising who this week runs through, despite being gone for the last couple of weeks, waiting the birth of his first child. Scotty Scheffler in the mix and the odds-on favorite. The storyline I want to come at here, because there's so many ways to frame this greatness and what this week could mean historically, the Grand Slam possibly alive halfway through the major season. But, Rick, he's going to be without his caddy, Ted Scott, here on Saturday, who's returning home for his daughter's graduation. Scheffler said family comes first, has been the case over these last few weeks. Big deal, little deal, no deal there with no caddy, or no normal caddy on Saturday?
No deal.
Okay.
No deal whatsoever. I trust Ted Scott to get the replacement caddy ready to rock and roll and not have any issues with the way the golf course is going to be played. It's not like you're throwing me out there, right? They're going to be just fine. And the other thing is, it's still 3 rounds with Ted Scott. And oh, by the way, Scotty Scheffler is the best player in the world, and it's probably not even close right now. He's doing things that we've never seen from tee to green. He's finally figured out the putter. But KP, he's starting to get to the point where everybody else is thinking about him. We know this championship runs through Scotty Scheffler, and I think they do too. The absence of the last couple weeks, waiting for baby Scheffler to come. We've heard Rory McIlroy bring up Scheffler kind of unprovoked. We've heard a lot of guys bring up Scheffler unprovoked. He's lurking in the back of everybody's head.
Yeah, he is, and you have to look no further than this stat right here. I mean, since the start of 2020, he's 73 under. Next best is Rory at 34 under. I think to Joe's point earlier, yes, Joe, it would be a big deal if he didn't have any caddy at all and he had to carry his own bag.
Would be an issue.
That would be
a big
problem.
walk out here.
But I think, Justin Thomas talked about this on Tuesday. He said there's not a lot of strategy here. It's a lot of execution. It's a lot of, hey, there's not a lot of ways to play this golf course. And while I don't know that sets up great for Scotty Scheffler, I think golf courses where there's strategy and just kind of more of a mental game involved set up better for him. Not to mention short game like we saw at Augusta. He's also really good at execution as well. And I think, not having his regular caddy Ted Scott on Saturday at a golf course like this where it's only execution, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But Rick, you're right. I mean, it does run. This tournament does run through Scotty, and you see that reflected in the odds. He's down to 3-1, 4-1, something like that, which is just, it's a Tiger-like number. We've seen Tiger win at this golf course with those kind of odds, and that's what we're seeing right now, 24 years later with Scotty Scheffler.
Maybe that removal of so much strategy brings him back to the field in some ways, but he distances himself in so many others. If it's going to be a long iron contest here, Scotty Scheffler, the best in the world there as well. 10 of his last 14 majors, top 10s for Scotty Scheffler. So he's going to be there whether he executes in that moment. He has as of late. I do fear that by not leading with our next name, I've all but ensured the fact that he wins his fourth Wanamaker. Brooks Koepka, always looking for a spark, always looking for form, and he found it in Singapore, KP. That win there giving him all of the confidence that he could possibly need coming into a title defense and what would be a Tiger tying fourth Wanamaker if he gets it done here. How do you wrap your head around what Brooks could be this week?
Well, it's an incredible chance at history, right? I mean, you look at what he's done at major championships over the last couple of years. Since the start of 2017, he's got 9 top 2s at major championships. So first or second at these majors. Nobody else has more than 4. So nobody else even has half as many as Brooks Koepka does. And now he's trying to join a list of guys with 6. I'm going to read off just the list of names of guys that have won 6 major championships since World War II. So kind of the more modern,
live ball era?
Yeah, post-Masters, post the invention of the Masters. Listen to this list. Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Tom Watson, Sam Snead, Arnold Palmer, Lee Trevino, Nick Faldo, and Phil Mickelson. I don't even need to read both names of all those guys because those are all one-name guys. And Rick, we've arrived to me at the point where Brooks is kind of in that conversation as a one-name guy historically as well.
Yeah, it's starting to feel that way. And I look at this from 2 separate angles. What he was doing before this week was making a putter change, which has kind of enhanced his on the green play and has opened up the ability to win in Singapore. And then we laid eyes on him this week, and he looks cool, calm, collected. He is hitting the ball higher than everybody else, which is such a valuable asset to have at any major championship, especially here at Valhalla. He looks relaxed. There are a lot of guys out here, Joe, who are grinding. They are grinding on the Wednesday before the PGA Championship. You know who's not grinding? Brooks Koepka. They are just going through the motions, making sure everything's tidy. They're having a great time. They're getting ready for another one.
Unbothered by the cigarette smoke of John Daly during his practice round here on Wednesday. We saw him working on some putting, but as you said, free and clear and in search of a fourth Wanamaker. That would be 4 of the last 7 residing in his living room in Jupiter, as I said. Also would match Tiger Woods, who always begs a question, guys. The Masters a month ago, you got to see him up close and personal. We've seen him earlier on today. It's going to be a labor once again here. That Masters was moments of wow, but also plenty of well. Rick, what do you want to see? I won't ask you what makes this week a success because his presence is always worth something. What do you want to see out of Tiger this week?
I will spare us all of me saying I want to see him win. That's not going to happen. I want to see him play better on the weekend than he does on the weekdays, or at least get better throughout the week. We have seen routinely since comeback 1, comeback 2, comeback 3, he gets worse as the week goes on. And that's very clearly a body issue. We saw it at the Masters. The good news for Tiger at Augusta National, KP, is he's basically 2 shots ahead of everybody else because of the strategy, the way that he understands how to play that golf course. He is not going to get that luxury this week. When you are going to play out of wet, thick rough from 200 yards, like 6 different times throughout your round, it's an execution test, and that worries me about Tiger for this week.
Yeah, this is the worst setup to me of the 4 major championships for him because, like you said, at Augusta, he's just so much smarter than everybody else. That's how he won in 2019, was basically beating everybody with his mind. And I think he can kind of get away with doing that at a place like Pinehurst or Troon, which is where the final 2 majors of the year are at. But at a place like Valhalla, you don't. Yes, he's won here back in 2000, but it's not the. It's not a mental. It's not an intellectual test. And Tiger is, I think, a genius when it comes to golf, but he's not allowed to kind of show off his genius out Valhalla. Now, say what you want about that as a major championship, as a style of major championship, but I don't think it fits what Tiger still has, which is his mentality, his intellect, the ability to kind of get around a golf course. Like you said, it's bomb, go get it, and bomb it again, and that's not where Tiger's at this point in his career.
What we have is plenty of coverage all week long right here on CBS Sports HQ, live from the PGA Championship. Kyle Porter, Rick Gaiman breaking it all down all week long, and then Saturday and Sunday. You know where to be. CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus. Jim Nantz, Trevor Immelman, our team with Golf on CBS, putting words to history here from Valhalla.